So I was almost not going to make a third video for today, but I figured I wanted to try something different and do a little like personal vlog style video about something that I'm currently doing in my personal life. And that is reading Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell. So I came upon the teachings of Thomas Sowell, I want to say roughly midway through, maybe towards the end of, definitely mid 2021 is when I first found out about Thomas Sowell. And I found out about him from YouTube. As I find out about many things, I was just watching my feed here, and it came from like different videos that I was watching on stoicism and I guess you could call it self-improvement. I don't know if you ever watch, if you're an avid YouTube watcher like I am, you maybe come across places like Fight Mediocrity. Illucertus was an old one, but he doesn't really post like that anymore, where they talk about different principles that are usually based in stoicism. That seems to be like a trend with the channel, but they'll break down different concepts of self-improvement and but it's not like corny and like manifesting and stuff like that. It's practical. That's why it's grounded in stoicism. It's about actual real life 1% day-to-day improvement. And things like the works of Jordan B. Peterson, stuff like that is what they discuss. Long story short, that's how I fell upon the teachings of Thomas Sowell, and I absolutely fell in love with the things that he was talking about, absolutely intrigued with the man. He talks about, honestly, he kind of is, his teachings would be the best combat to things like critical race theory, the ignorance that comes from those kind of things, because he does talk about the unique relationships between races over time, but he also talks about the many other factors that come into play when we are regarding how races have related to one another over history, and things like economics between races and really economics in general. And that's where we are right now. Is I, over the few months, had gained interest in him and really wanted to check out his book, Basic Economics. That's where I'm at. I'm roughly 200. I'm on page 261 as it currently stands. And let me tell you, this book is absolutely chock full of information that will just make you rethink the way that you feel about economic systems, and specifically capitalism. A lot of people who know me know that I was already a pretty big fan of capitalism. I understand that it's not perfect, but I do think that it is the best economic system that we have come up with thus far as success and the amount of people that it helps keep alive and away from impoverishment, basically. So I didn't really know too much about what truly is a free market. We all have a general concept of what a free market is, but it's a pretty high level thing. This book really blows open what a true free market is, and how what we have in the United States of America is not a true free market, and why we suffer because of its lack of freedom. It's super duper awesome, and I cannot recommend. I'm obviously not being paid at all for this, but I can't recommend it enough. Just to give an example of how it can change your perspective on things, I also make clothes. As you will come to find out here, I'll probably talk about that here and there on my channel. It's not really what I'm here for, but I make clothes as well. I have a clothing brand called Hair of the Dog Clothing. And essentially, being in that field, you always have to study things like sweatshops, manufacturing of clothing. Where is it manufactured? Who is it manufactured by? What are the conditions like there? And of course, traditionally, you would be against things like sweatshops, maquiladoras, where countries build warehouses and factories in third world locations, and they pay pennies on the hour, dollar, whatever it is, to the people who work there, so that we can get cheaper clothes in countries like America and other first world countries. I was naturally against this because when you explain it like that, it sounds like a terrible thing for the most part. But Thomas Sowell in the book actually expounds upon this in a way that makes you really shift your way of thinking about that. For one, he talks about the eagerness of people to work at these locations in third world countries, right? So the reason that a warehouse would move from a place like America to a place like Nepal would be because the costs to produce the items based off of regulations in Nepal are lower than the costs to produce them in-house in America, right? If they produce in America, not only does it increase the cost for the company, they have to pass that increased cost off to the consumer, meaning that that less clothes can be produced. Those clothes are more expensive and less people will be able to afford them. On the other hand, that factory that is not built in Nepal does not give jobs to however many people would have been working at the factory. And yes, we did say those people would only be making cents on the hour. But those people, so let's say the money that they make adds up to $2 a day. But if the warehouse isn't there, the only job opportunities that they have around town would equate to 50 cents per day. The people who are outside in the heat, suffering, doing hard labor for 50 cents a day would be very eager for the opportunity to work in a factory that is at least not exposed to the sun. I'm not going to say that they're air conditioned or anything like that, but very well could be. Better conditions and better pay. To a person who is a worker in the United States of America, those conditions would be considered horrid. But to the people who look at less conditions and are improving the conditions by working in the factory, that is a benefit and an amazing opportunity to them. Not only that, but the increased income that they have allows them to afford a better lifestyle for themselves. When they can afford a better lifestyle for themselves, they can increase the amount of comfort that they have from the different technologies that are around them. Once they increase the comfort that they have from the different technologies that are around them, they can further develop their country, meaning that they can create more innovation and increase their productivity so that one day they can make more money because they can produce a higher quantity of product faster for less money. So it's good for them to have a factory built in their country as long as it is providing them higher pay than what is already afforded there. Now you're like, oh, well, that sounds very conditional. Ask yourself, how would a business be successful in a new country if it wasn't profitable for the people to work at the new location versus where they were already working? You're like, you can say, oh, well, they didn't have much of a choice because they were starving before. And I'm not talking about Nepal. I'm just talking about general in places where things like this happen. Okay, yes, you're right. They were starving before. They did not have a choice but to take one of the few jobs that are afforded to them. But how are you saying that like it's a bad thing? You're saying that before there were no job opportunities and now there is a job opportunity. That is an improvement. Now, once again, it's not according to the lifestyle that we like, but that's because we're fat cats, for lack of a better term, including myself. I live in the United States of America and I love it. And I'm fully aware and cognizant of the amazing lifestyle that even some of the most poor in the United States of America get to live. It's unthinkable the things that go on in other countries. And I say that just from what I've learned in my experiences vicariously, because I haven't been out of the country since I was 7 years old, maybe, on a cruise to Disney for Bahamas for one day. So I'm not trying to talk like I'm the most worldly person. But one benefit of reading books is that you can become more worldly from your living room couch. That is why I highly recommend Reading Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, and this is Jordan's official book approval, unless something happens in the remaining 300 pages as to where I change my mind, but I highly doubt it. This is a brilliant man we are talking about here, and I would like you to have a great weekend.